Any Which Way You Can was the sequel to Every Which Way But Loose. And really, Snuff Garrett, who I had been working with at the time, came into my office one day and he said, I've got this duo that was pitched to me. It's the brother of Lefty Frizzell and the daughter of Dottie West. Just that alone smells like a hit to me. I said, yeah, but what about, we still got to come up with a song. And so he put it out to several of the writers, and Sandy Pinkard and Larry Collins, I believe, came in with a song called You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma, and I flipped out because I was co-producing and arranging it, and met with David and Shelley because that song, to make it work, we had to do internal key changes, which was different for that time, you know. And but it was a magical record. We cut it, and Clint heard it, flipped out, and said, "That's going in the movie." And it became really, other than the Glenn Campbell "Any Which Way You Can" song, it became "You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma" was by far the biggest song from that soundtrack.
I tell you what's kind of weird about that whole thing too is that back in the 50s, in the early 50s, my brother was working the Town Hall Party. It was a TV show there in L.A. And as a kid, I'd go over there with him, and I'd be there for the show. And Larry Collins, him and his sister had a show, Larry and Lori, the Collins kids, and they were on that show all the time.
I'll be done.
When I was just, we're all just kids. And now we grow up. I haven't seen him since then.
Well, I was only 5 when I made the record.
And then all of a sudden, he's on right of one of the biggest songs I ever had.
Crazy.
Yeah, so it's a crazy world. This music business it's actually getting crazier than what we're going through now.
Right. Well, we cut the song well ahead of the movie, and we recorded the duet out of the sheer excitement of Snuff wanting, you know, because Snuff was a huge Lefty Frizzell fan and a country music fan. I grew up in New York City. I didn't see a tree until I was 15 years old. So the whole country music thing was so foreign to me. I was a rock and roller, but when I do remember specifically, there's only a couple of sessions I've done in all the thousands that I've done that I remember how the track as we were recording it was just perfect. It was magical. It was, you know, there was no retakes, there were no overdubs, there were no, hey, change this. You know, we had worked out the chart ahead of time because of the key changes, and we did that track live with strings and everything. We had a good 30 players in the studio.
That was absolutely amazing.
And it was just one of those that you knew it was a hit the minute you heard it.
You know what's kind of funny about that whole thing too is that I had taken my brother Alan. You remember Brother Alan?
Sure.
Had been working with Dottie, fronting her band, and him and Shelley took off.
And they got married.
And a little bit later they actually got married after the song was #1. But they ended up coming out to California, where I was out there working with Buck Owens out of Bakersfield.
That's right.
And so they came out there, and he introduced me to Shelley. He brought her in the house, and I was sitting in my room, my room, and he had her came in, and she's standing in the doorway, and he said, "Sing to David." So she sang Bartender's Blues, a cappella. Blew me away right there. I said, "No, we got to do something with me and her." And so that's when we got a hold of Snuff. And I had taken her and everybody into Buck Owens' studio in Bakersfield and recorded something that Whitey Schaefer, remember Whitey Schaefer, the great writer from
I know who he
Nashville?
is, yeah.
We recorded one of his songs and go, "Darling, will you marry me again?" And so we went to the Buck Owens studio and we recorded, and I found Jack Brumley was our manager at that time. Remember
right.
Jack Brumley?
Yeah.
Jack Brumley got in touch with Snuff and got everything down to Snuff. So after Snuff got the little tape we sent to him, he called me one afternoon, and he said, "Can you send me some pictures? I don't have a picture." He said, "If you look anything like you sound," he said, "I'm gonna make you and her the Sonny and Cher of country music."
That's right. That's when he called me. Snuff called me and said, "I got something. This is going to be great. I want you to produce it with me." Wow. And it was lucky for me that I got the chance because we made some great records together.
Yeah.
Wino and another Honky Tonk Night on Broadway, and the list goes on.
I was sitting in the studio in the control room when you brought all of them players in, and I've done a few of those sessions before, you know. Right. But I never had seen that many people go in to do a session before. Right. They were just trailing after you, and you went in there. Right. And here's all these violin players and other players, and I thought, this is amazing. There's something good's going to happen here. Wow. And it did, because we ended up making some good records.
It's funny. I don't know if you know the story. We were doing Merle Haggard, Misery and Gin for Bronco Billy, and I had 60 players in the studio. Oh, and Merle walked in and he looked out and he said, "Man, there's a lot of fiddles." Yeah.
But we had some great songs. We had some good songs, and then we had songs. But we had some great songs.
And we had some turkeys too. But I didn't pick any of those.
We had a time. We had some great players on those
great
sessions.
Players. Yeah, it was just a great era and just a great chemistry between you guys and the voices and the players.
I remember walking into the control room that one time, and they would playback. They were doing playback, and Snuff reached in his pocket and pulled that big old roll of $100 bills he had, and he said, "That one smells like a hit." If he didn't do that, right. Forget that song. Right. But he did that on Oklahoma, did it on Wino, did it on. There was another one. It's not coming to me. We had recorded a lot of great things, but Who Dat is not one of them.
No.
Who Dat was not one.
Not one of them. You might know more about that one than me. I came into that, after we had the success with Frizzell West, we decided to do solo albums with David and Shelley, and I just got a call from Snuff saying, "We're cutting this song, do a chart on it." But I don't remember how
they had. Snuff had all those sent out to me, and I was on my bus, and we're going from date to date. We're doing 28 dates a month. I mean, you know, and I didn't even know what state I was in most of the time. But anyway, I was going. I had a whole basket full of.
You were in a Texas state of mind.
Oh, yeah, I was definitely in a Texas state of mind. Anyway, so and when I'd hear one of the songs, if I liked it, then I'd put it into another little basket. If I didn't like it, I'd throw it over my head, and the guys in the band would catch it, and then they'd use it for themselves for whatever reason they want to use that tape for. And but I heard that song, and I put it back, and then I'd play 2 or 3 songs, and I'd play it again, and I thought, this is incredible. Dwayne Blackwell,
right,
who actually had the demo on it, was incredible. He did it really good. He sounded great on it, and it's him singing.
Yeah, Dwayne was good.
And Dwayne called me when he found out we was going to do the song, and he met me at the studio, met us at the studio. He was there, and he said, "David, how are you going to do this song?" I said, "I'm going to do this exactly like you did it." Because that was a hit.
Yeah, when we heard a song and the demo was right, we just basically ripped it off, you know, or stayed as close to it as possible. The only Oklahoma was not the case, because Oklahoma was just in one key, Larry Collins just doing a guitar thing, and the trick to that, because Shelley had such a low voice, to make the key changes work and keep elevating the song going to that last chorus, we had to build in the key changes before we cut it.
That was the greatest thing you did, though. That's really what helped make that song. Those modulations just really kept the vibe in it, and kept it the thrill of it going all the way through that song.
Milton Brown and I wrote Another Honky Tonk Down on Broadway. There's a really funny story about that. I'll tell it real quick. Snuff called me, and he had the idea for the song. And Milton and I wrote it. We wrote a lot of big hits together. And Snuff called me one day and he said, "You got that song yet?" And we had originally written that for David, as a solo song. And Snuff came over to the house and I played it for him on the piano. And there's a line in there that's my guitar and $15 between me and All Alone. And Snuff said 50. And I said, "What?" He said, "Change the 15 to 50. I said, "Okay." He took a third. But we wrote that originally. It's true. I can't make that up. I won't tell any of the other bad ones. But,
there's more of those.
Yeah, oh, there's a lot more of those. But Snuff loved the song so much. He said, "You know what?" He said, "This is a smash for Frizzell and West. Can we do a similar thing that we did with Oklahoma? Can we build in some mods and modulations?" And that's what we did. And I remember that was another track that was just so unique.
Well,
we used a tenor sax on it, which hadn't been heard in country music in a long time. Yeah. And it was just a cool vibe and great record. Great vocals.
We had a good time singing it, and but you guys had all we had to do was just follow along, because it was great, so well written. And I heard that you wrote it in a minute or two.
15
minutes. It was a great song.